you. Welcome to Medium with the Mic. I'm Kari Bandle, owner of Sacred Whispers Studio, and I'm really glad you're here today because this episode is one that's a little close to my heart. We're going to talk about children and not the typical Children's Day kind of way where we celebrate them with cake and cards. Happy Children's Day, by the way. But we're going to talk about something that I think most of us have felt but maybe never had words for. We're going to cover what children know, what they were born knowing, and what happens slowly, quietly, with the very best of intentions when the adults around them teach them to forget. Okay, so let me start here. I want you to think back, way back before school, before logic, before someone told you that what you saw in the corner of your room wasn't real. Do you remember being little and just knowing things, feeling things you couldn't explain? Or maybe you sensed when someone was sad before they said a word. Maybe you saw something, a figure, a light, a face that the adults around you dismissed. Maybe you had an invisible friend or just had this feeling of being connected to something bigger than yourself. And it felt completely normal because it was normal. It was your normal. Research in developmental psychology actually shows that young children, we're talking toddlers and early school age, have what's called porous boundaries. Their sense of self and other, seen and unseen, is not yet hardwired the way an adult's is. They haven't yet built the mental filters that tell them what is real and what isn't. Dr. Erlander Haraldsson, a researcher at the University of Iceland, spent decades studying children's experiences with the unseen and found that these experiences are incredibly common, cross cultural, and consistent. Children aren't making it up, they are perceiving. Now, I'm not here to tell you what that means theologically or religiously. You get to decide that for yourself. And I honor wherever you land. But what I will say is this: the idea that children are born spiritually aware, born with a direct connection to their soul's wisdom, is not a fringe concept. It shows up in virtually every spiritual tradition on the planet. Indigenous cultures around the world have honored children's gifts for thousands of years. In many traditions, the child who sees spirits is not taken to a therapist, they're taken to an elder because what they have is considered sacred. So, when did we stop treating it that way? Here's where it gets just a little tender. And I want to be really gentle here because it's not about blame. It's not about pointing fingers at parents or grandparents, teachers, or anyone who raised and taught us. This is about patterns. And understanding patterns is how we change them. Around age 7 or 8, something shifts developmentally. The left brain, the logical, analytic, language based part, starts to really come online. And at the same time, children become much more aware of what the people around them believe, think, and expect. They want to belong, they want to be believed. And when what they're experiencing doesn't match what the adults in their life say is real, something has to give. And it's almost always the child's truth that gives. The door closes, usually slowly, but sometimes all at once. And here's the thing: it closes in so many different ways. Some parents shut it down out of fear. They see their child frightened and they want to fix it. So they say, it's not real, you're okay, because that's the fastest way to stop the tears. And I get that. I 100% get that. Some parents shut it down because of religion. What their child is describing conflicts with their belief system, and they genuinely believe that they are protecting their child's soul. Again, love, completely driven by love. Some parents shut it down because they themselves have had these experiences. They were told that they were crazy and they don't want their own child to go through that. And some parents just don't know. They lived their whole lives in a world that told them that this isn't real, and so they pass that on without even realizing it. But here's what the child hears: no matter the reason, what you know is wrong, what you see is wrong, what you feel is wrong. You cannot trust yourself. And that right there is what we carry for the rest of our lives. I actually had a moment, and I'll tell you about this because I think it's going to hit a lot of you, where I witnessed this happen in real time. And even knowing everything I know, even being who I am, it still knocked the wind out of me. A family was in my home visiting, and one of their children was coloring in my kitchen, quietly just doing her thing. And then all of a sudden, she comes running into the living room to her mother, and she was crying so hard she could barely breathe. It took almost a full minute before she could get the words out. And when she did, she said, "I saw a man." Now, you need to know that all of my homes have always been shared with visitors from the other side. That's just my reality. So I knew immediately what she had experienced. And I feel like whoever that soul was probably checking out what she was coloring. She's a very good artist. And in my heart, it just went to her completely. But I also watched what happened next. Her father and her mother, two people who love her with everything they have, they went into protection mode. They told her it was probably a reflection from the window. She said no. They told her it wasn't real. They held her, they soothed her, and they very gently and very lovingly closed her door. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I looked at my husband, who knew what I was feeling inside, and silently I sat there. I understood both sides of that moment so completely. I understood why they did it. They wanted her to feel safe. And I understood what was being lost. And it wasn't my place to interfere. That's their child. That's their call. But I will tell you honestly, I almost cried. Because here's what I kept thinking. If they had just known, if they had just had the language, the framework, the understanding, and they could have said something so different. They could have said, "Wow, tell me about him. What did he look like? Did he say anything?" You know what? Sometimes people from heaven come to visit us, and they're not here to scare you. They're here because they love you. Just that, just that would have changed everything for her. Instead, she's going to spend years, possibly decades, trying to get back to her own soul's natural mediumship abilities. They got locked away in that moment by people who love her and wanted to protect her. Okay, let me bring the science back in here for a second because I find this really fascinating, and I think you will too. There's a concept in neuroscience called neuroplasticity. You've probably heard of it. The idea that the brain is not fixed, it's constantly reshaping itself based on experience. What's really interesting is that children's brains are in a state of what researchers call hyperplasticity in those early years. They are absorbing and integrating everything at a rate we never experience again as adults. And what they integrate includes not just what they're taught, but what they're told to stop noticing. Dr. Lisa Miller, a Columbia University professor and author of The Spiritual Child, has done extensive research on children's spirituality and its relationship to mental health. And what she found is striking. Children who are allowed to develop their natural spiritual awareness have significantly better mental health outcomes as adults. Lower rates of depression, lower rates of addiction, greater resilience. The suppression of that awareness, on the other hand, is actually correlated with a kind of existential emptiness that many people spend their adult lives trying to fill. I want you to sit with that for a second because what that research is essentially saying is that when we shut down a child's natural spiritual connection, we're not keeping them safe. We may actually be setting them up for a lifetime of searching for something they can't even name. And here's what I believe with everything in me. I believe that soul doesn't forget ever. I believe that throughout your life, you get these moments, these nudges, a dream that feels more real than waking, a moment of knowing before the phone rings, a feeling of presence when you're alone, a song that comes on at exactly the right moment and you just know it's not a coincidence. Those are your reminders. Those are your soul knocking on the door you locked all those years ago, saying, "Hey, I'm still here, remember?" Some people hear the knock and they open the door. Some people never do. And here's what I've come to believe about that. Even the people who never open the door are still completing their soul's contract. They are still here for a reason, still touching lives, still part of the plan. The knowing isn't required for the contract to be fulfilled. But oh, what a different life it is when you find your way back. So, what do we do with all of this? Because I'm not here to make you feel things. I want this to be useful. I want you to walk away from this episode with something. If you have children in your life, your own kids, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, the neighbor kid you babysit on Tuesdays, here's what I want to offer you. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be a medium or a spiritual teacher or have any special knowledge at all. You just have to be willing to not close the door. When a child tells you they saw something, felt something, knew something, before you go into fix it mode, try curiosity first. Tell me more about that. What did it feel like? Were you scared or did it just surprise you? You don't have to confirm or deny anything. You just have to make them feel like their experience is worth talking about, like they are not crazy, like you believe them. That's it. That's the whole thing. Just don't close the door. And for those of you that are listening who are adults who had your door closed, and I know that's most of you, I want to say this directly to you. It's not too late. The door was locked from the inside, which means you have the key. You always had the key. The whispers you've been hearing your whole life, those are real. That knowing you've been second guessing, that's real too. You're not broken, you're not behind, and it's not too late. It's never too late. You are just remembering. And this right here, you listening to this podcast, seeking this out, feeling pulled toward this subject, this might be one of those nudges, your soul knocking. I'd open the door if I were you. So today, on Children's Day, I want to offer this thought. The greatest gift we can give a child is not a toy, not a party, not even our time, though time is precious and I want you to give them all of that you can. The greatest gift is this: we believe you. What you feel is real. You are not alone in what you sense, and there is nothing to be afraid of. That gift costs nothing, and it could change everything. If this episode moved you, if it brought up something for you, if you have your own story of a door that was closed or a door you're trying to open, I would genuinely love to hear from you. Come find me at Sacred Whispers Studio. The link is in the show notes. Come say hi. Tell me your story. I read everything. And if you know someone who needs to hear this today, a parent, a grandparent, someone who is searching, please share this episode because sometimes the right words at the right time are exactly the nudge someone needs. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I don't take it lightly. I really appreciate you. Until next time, keep listening to those whispers of wisdom.